All right, so we are live. Welcome everyone to this special presentation of Armchair All-Americans. We are broadcasting to you live via Google Hangouts. Today, the NCAA Selection Committee has officially released the bracket for this year's college tournament. 68 teams made the bracket among 4 different regions. We'll be breaking down those regions for you today and giving you a brief preview. The games begin this Tuesday, and before we get any further, let's introduce today's correspondents. My name is Rob Liano. I'm from the University of Arizona.
My name is Adam Corbo, and I'm from Texas A&M University.
I'm Andrew Stevens, and I'm from the University of Georgia. Left out of this tournament, but here to give my opinion. I guess that I'll act sort of as a little bit of a host for this segment, but we're sort of going to run you through each region, run you through who was snubbed, who snuck in, who's got the easiest road to the Final Four, who's got the toughest, and whatnot. But let's start off on the top left, the South region with what appears to be far and away the best team in the country, the Kansas Jayhawks, led by really everyone: Perry Ellis, Wayne Selden, Devontae Graham. I mean, it's really name your night, name your player. As of right now, they have Villanova as the 2 seed, Miami as the 3, Cal as the 4, Maryland, and then Arizona finishing the top 6. Rob, what you got to say on the South?
Hello? Rob, you got something to say on the South?
Yeah. So
our Arizona man on the South.
So the South region, like you just said, it's just a crazy one.
I think in the
South
I'm
having
region,
a lot of echo going on, but
no worries. I think in the South region, I definitely think that KU will make it to the Elite Eight, but I think a real good chance of they could get beat by somebody like Villanova or Miami. Specifically Miami, I think they're a very good team, but I don't see too much of a a complete meltdown in this region of seeding and stuff. I think it'll be the top dogs that make it to the Elite Eight.
Do we see any repeat of was 2008 here or 09? Kansas grabbing that top spot, top left. No UNLV.
No, I think we see a repeat.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one. I mean, Villanova, as of right now, I think they've proven in years past the brand of basketball they play right now is too small to compete, and it sort of becomes you got to be hot for 6 games, and it's been a very long time since we've seen a team that is relying on shooting the ball get that hot for that long of a period of time. But at the same time, Arizona gave Oregon a run for their money. Maryland, led by Melo Trimble, definitely. I mean, they were ranked number 3 in the country at one point this year. They definitely have the ability. And then Cal coming out of the Pac-12, I think a lot of people viewed this, especially Rob over there, as a little bit of an overrated seed, but they definitely, if they can sneak past Hawaii in the first round, then could give Maryland a bit of a tough time.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
I was actually one of the kind of upsets in that South region I'm actually looking at is I think Hawaii could pull the upset on Cal, the 13 over the 4. Hawaii's a very good team. I watched them earlier this year, and they took Oklahoma, and they gave them everything they could handle. So I think that's a matchup to be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, what you got in your cap?
Well, really in general, like what you guys were saying earlier is about Arizona, and we were talking about how where they got in the bracket they kind of got screwed over from Cal, and I really think that they can play a lot better than we kind of like some people have seen, and it's going to be hard for them, of course, when they go against Miami. I don't think they can win that one. They're definitely going to win the first one, and like you were saying about Cal, that's overrated. And I actually like to see that game. It's going to be a good game, and like what Adam said, it's that's gonna be a good game. I think Hawaii can pull off that upset, and this South region is actually just quite a crazy one. And also, it looks like we got our next correspondent to come back, Grant.
Grant's joining us from the University of Arkansas, and so a little bit heavy in the SEC here, but fortunately we got Rob out west to balance us out. We just went over the South. It's pretty much, it says Kansas, and that's
Kansas,
kind of all you need to know right now. But let's move over to the East. The top four go North Carolina, Xavier, West Virginia, and then the SEC champion Kentucky. A little starting, I think Kentucky placed at the 4 seed after winning the SEC tournament shows us two things. The first is, one, there's been this myth, maybe not even myth, but knowledge that these Sunday games, which are the SEC championship and the Big Ten championship, don't really get that much viewership or credence in terms of I guess the selection committee. I know that certainly A&M beat Kentucky earlier this year, but we just saw that A&M with the 3 seed, Kentucky with the 4 after Kentucky beat them today. Adam, what you got to say about that?
I thought it was weird. As an Aggie, that's great. We got the 3 seed. We love it. We were not expecting it at all. We thought that today between Kentucky and A&M would get the 3 seed, but it turns out we lost and we still got it. So, but I think what they go back to is the committee thinks so highly of the Big 12, and A&M went 4-0 against the Big 12 this year. And had a very good non-conference schedule, better than what Kentucky had. So I think they just viewed them as equals, but A&M had the better non-conference schedule, so that's why they gave them the head-to-head.
Yeah, and I think even with that Kentucky 4 seed, you're going to see a little bit of what the committee actually views of the SEC. I mean, this is I guess a 2.5 bid league with Vandy sneaking in right there, and so I think the committee was down on the SEC this year, and it definitely showed in the allocation of the seeds for its top teams.
Right. Yeah, I think that also another factor, just to go back to that A&M Kentucky thing, I think they want to put A&M and Texas near each other because there's a chance they could play in the second round. But
they're canceling that football rivalry and doing everything they can to get them back together.
Yeah, they're trying. But as far as the East goes, I think I don't see Xavier as a 2 seed. I don't see them getting to the Elite Eight to face somebody like UNC. I don't think Xavier's that strong of a team. As far as the 2 seed goes, I think they're weak. So I see West Virginia probably getting to that Elite Eight and facing UNC. That's my prediction as to what the Elite Eight from the East will be.
So Grant, in terms of assuming that Kentucky and Indiana take care of business, who do you see taking on North Carolina in, I guess, this what could be very potential matchup of historic teams?
I think it's really interesting. Indiana is a team that shoots the 3 ball very well, and Kentucky's a team that really relies on that backcourt duo of Tyler Ulis and Jamal Murray, who's been lighting it up. Personally, I like Kentucky in that game. I think that Jamal Murray's on an absolute hot streak, and Tyler Ulis is probably a little bit better than Yogi Ferrell. Great point guard matchup there. But I like UK to beat Indy and get to the Sweet 16.
Okay, for sure. Rob, what you got on the East?
In the East, really, I'm looking at a pretty good conference here, but I really think that we get to the Sweet 16. Like what Grant said, I think Kentucky and North Carolina in that game. I think that will be one of probably the bigger games of that region, and I think that would be pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, and regardless of really what your opinion on college basketball is, what your opinion on John Calipari is, he sort of called out I don't know if you call it the wooden selection committee or what, but I mean, they ended up, he came out and said, you're looking at the best player in the country right now, and no one's willing to admit it because he's 5'9", and I think he has a big point on that. I mean, he could be, I think Tyler Ulis puts up the exact same stats, and if he's as tall as Chris Paul, then people could be praising him right now. They're praising him right now, but I definitely still think he's an under the radar player in this tournament.
Not only that, I think that West Virginia is potentially the most underrated team in this regional. You look at Press Virginia, the way that they absolutely just are so aggressive with that press. A team like North Carolina that has struggled in the backcourt this season is relying on that front court. That's a very interesting potential matchup in the Elite Eight.
If we're being honest, though, I do like West Virginia a lot, and I'm really upset that my real sleeper team coming into this, or I guess stunner, would be Stephen F. Austin. I mean, they went 18-0 in the Southland this year. They won their conference tournament, and I think that they're playing better than anyone in the country right now. I mean, I know that they're what you call mid-major, maybe even smaller than that, but I mean, they were a 12 seed last year. They know how to compete, and these are teams that play well and they play small. And if you can figure out a way to beat that Bob Huggins press, then they could run for their money.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's hard for any team to prepare for West Virginia. So that's why I think that a tournament style format is one that West Virginia can thrive in, because if there's a game or a day or two between games, it is so hard to be ready for what West Virginia is going to throw at you. So
yeah, and
it's a great format for them.
They're probably the best team in the country, just the nature of the way they play basketball.
Yeah, I would agree.
Don't forget about the big man inside either. Afro man with the goggles. He was absolutely unstoppable in the Big 12. Absolutely unstoppable.
Absolutely. All right, let's move down to the West, where I think everybody starts to smile a little bit, because we'll run you through the top 6 seeds. We have Oregon, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Duke, Baylor, and Texas. I mean, I think you have your analysts. I think you have your upset-minded, your chaos lovers that are just sort of salivating at the West region, because you have something that is honestly unpredictable. I mean, yeah. Oregon took it to Utah to win the Pac-12, but they are, in terms of March, an unproven team. Buddy Hield, I think, is the best player in the country, and you just have experience all the way down through at least the 6. And Oregon State with Gary Payton Jr. at the 7 is no one to laugh at either.
Yeah, actually, to your point, any of those top 6 seeds up to the 6 seed Texas, any of those teams could get to the Elite Eight or to the Final Four from the West. I mean, it is such a strong region that it is just unbelievable. I mean, it's going to be tough. Whoever makes it out of here could be the most battle-tested and ready for the Final Four, just based on what they had to go through in the West. So
absolutely, and we could see that those teams most, I guess, comfortable with the tournament style, most comfortable with the chaos that this is sort of going to provide. And so, yeah, like you said, battle tested. They may have seen it all when the Final Four comes around.
Not only are teams 1 through 6 really good, I think there are a lot of potential upsets in this region. You look at a team like Green Bay, who nobody's really talking about. That is an absolute track match of the team. They're top 5 in the NCAA in pace. They really push the ball. Yale's playing Baylor in Providence, Rhode Island. That's practically Yale's home court. And they're phenomenal defensively on the glass. And personally, I think Northern Iowa is going to beat Texas. I mean, Northern Iowa, a team with 2 top 5 wins in the regular season over both North Carolina and Iowa State, and a Texas team with 12 losses, granted with a very difficult schedule and no Cameron Ridley. I mean, this is probably the most interesting of all the regions, and I love Gary Payton Jr., first player to lead Oregon State to an NCAA tournament since his dad did it in 1990, and arguably the best two-way guard in the nation.
And one thing I will say, you and I, while they are battle-tested, I think the whole country's very intrigued to see Shaka Smart in new colors, because, I mean, you definitely – March's in history is coaches win. Your Tom Izzo's, I mean, your Coach K's, your Calipari's, you're going to see all of those guys around in March, around in April. And so we've been seeing Shaka Smart with VCU recently. I really think that if they get rolling and to that second weekend, especially a win over a win over Texas A&M potentially, that they could be sort of one of those lower seeds that starts to really surprise some national powers.
Yeah. I'll agree on that with Texas. While their schedule and their record have not been great, Shaka Smart knows how to coach teams in the NCAA tournament. So this could be a completely new team that Northern Iowa and potentially A&M would be facing, because come March, Marcus Smart's teams played very well.
Mm-hmm.
In the West, you have the typical Cinderella culprits. Northern Iowa. You have VCU. I mean, just all across the board. This is such a tough region, but it's going to be so fun to watch. This is what makes March Madness what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to pin a focus on Oregon here. I wanted to because so I've always been saying, even before conference play started, that this season I can see the Pac-12 as being one of the deepest, most competitive conferences in college basketball. And seeing Oregon on the top, they won the championship, they won the regular season, and really, if their players can stay healthy, then I could see them going really, really far. But one of the things is, that's why I said stay healthy. In the game against Arizona in the semifinals, one of the players actually went out with an injury. He was out for almost an entire half. And literally that led to Arizona literally coming back after being down 15 points. And
they led Arizona. I mean, Arizona, as a good team, sitting there as the 6th seed. I mean, Oregon has been known to let teams back into games, and I think if I guess your typical March teams, they're not one that you normally see, especially on that top line. And so I think I have on my sheet the number 1 seed with the toughest road, or number 1 seed most likely upset. I have Oregon circled about 16 times, just because not really through a fault of anyone else, but through what the selection committee always seems to load up that West, or that always makes it very interesting down in the bottom left part of that bracket. But let's move over to one of the blandest areas of the country, providing us with one of the blandest regions in the tournament. While we have two elite coaches, you have Tony Bennett taking Virginia and Tom Izzo taking Michigan State as the 1 and 2 seeds. But then below that, you sort of have some question marks. I mean, Utah, they just got beat by 31 points in the Pac-12 championship. They're the 3 seed. You have Iowa State, who, while experienced with players like Gorgie Jang and who am I
Morris.
Yes. Thank you. They are without the leadership of Fred Hoiberg this year. He was what a lot of people like to think was a battle-tested coach in March, and losing a little bit of experience there, having a new face in there could change it up a little bit. And then you have Purdue, who performed extremely well in the Big Ten tournament, and Seton Hall sort of to round out that top 6. What do y'all feel about the Midwest?
Like you said, boring. That's for sure. But there is potential later on for this region to get pretty interesting, because I see somebody in the 5, 6, 7 area getting down to the Elite 8. I don't know. The top teams here don't seem that strong to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could be totally wrong. That's March Madness for you, but I definitely see somebody like Dayton or Seton Hall.
You have Texas Tech. While the Big 12 was deep this year, they lost to TCU, who is looked upon as really the only non-competitor in that conference this year, and they lost to them in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. And then you have Syracuse, who they also lost in the first round of the ACC tournament, and a lot of people are just Syracuse, with that loss, has lost 6 out of the last 7 games. And so I think even once it gets deeper, you still have some of those a little bit lower quality teams in this Midwest.
I think that the Midwest Regional can actually be really interesting. I am really big on the Boilermakers. I think A.J. Hammonds is a spectacular player and the kind of guy that can carry a team in March. You'll get a guy that is absolutely a beast on the block and can protect the rim. Also, a team like Gonzaga. If Gonzaga gets matched up with Utah in the second round, Gonzaga has some very talented big men that can deal with Jakob Poeltl. I mean, that's a team as an 11 seed that could easily make a Sweet 16 run, if not an Elite 8 run. I mean, I really like Michigan State personally. They're my favorite this year. But I think this is actually a more interesting regional than we're giving it credit.
Yeah, and the more we look at it, I definitely see that. Somebody like Gonzaga, they're an 11 seed, but if they play to they're one of those teams. If they play to their potential, they are a very dangerous team. And the same goes for somebody like Syracuse. While they have lost a lot, they did beat A&M in the beginning of the year, and they're one of those teams. They have the talent. If they get going, they can play up there with the 1s and 2 seeds. So
that's what a lot of people were saying about teams like Kentucky too. That once they can sort of just realize the talent level and the potential on that team, and Kentucky sort of looks like they're doing it right now, that they could make a serious run in March. All right, so I jotted down a couple of notes here, but who are we thinking for the most likely to be upset? I have 2 14s on this line, but certainly some others are up for getting knocked off.
Yeah. I think I have the same 14 as you, in that Fresno State will take down Utah. Pretty much every year there's at least like one 14-3 upset, so you can guarantee you need to pick one. And I think this would be the one that you should pick for most people.
Yeah.
Because I just don't see that Utah is really that good. And they just got blown out. Now, granted, it was against a very good team, but I just don't think Utah is 3-seed worthy. So
I'm with you on that one, and I like I said earlier, I'm very high on Stephen F. Austin this year. I mean, they in terms of getting hot not really getting hot at the right time. They've been hot all year, but playing well into March. They dominated the Southland, and they are not experienced in March, but this stage will not overwhelm them. Bob Huggins will not overwhelm them, and even if they don't pull off the upset, I definitely think that they can be showing some people that Stephen F. Austin is a very worthy basketball program.
Right.
I also have marked down. I think we mentioned in the beginning of the broadcast, Hawaii. I mean, they took Oklahoma to the buzzer. Adam, you were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that Hawaii will give Cal all its money as well. And they took Oklahoma to the brink. They're a very good team, and they deserve better than the 13 seed. But regardless, I think they pull an upset on Cal.
It's so very much likely.
Grant, what's up, Rob?
And I mean, that's very much likely. Like we were saying, Cal. I think we can all agree they really shouldn't be a 4 seed based on how they played in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm. No,
right.
They especially with Arizona as the 6th seed in their same regional. That's something that I found a little bit questionable.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Grant, what about you on your who's on upset alert?
There's a lot of them for me, honestly. I really like that Yale over Baylor matchup in Providence. I totally see what you're talking about, Fresno State, Utah. I think Utah is a bit overrated as a 3 seed. I think they should have been moved down to maybe a 4 line. Other than that, there's a lot of upsets that I feel could happen, but I'm not very sure on. I do like Hawaii versus Cal. I think Hawaii is a very good team. Cal's got a lot of talent, but they just haven't seemed to put it together yet. Other than that, I really don't have any other big ones I'm sure on as far as 12-13s. A lot of 11-6s to me look like very good upset picks, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's that Gonzaga-Seton Hall game. While some may call it an upset if Gonzaga wins, I don't see it as much of an upset. That just seems like it'll be a good, tight game there.
I'm with you on that one. And speaking of 11s, I guess talking really, really recently, we have our 2 play-in games on Tuesday, or we're working Tuesday and Wednesday. We have Vandy and Wichita State, and then Michigan and Tulsa. Who do y'all think ends up actually inserting themselves into the actual dance?
If there's any team among those 11 seeds that I feel like has the best shot to make a run, it's definitely Vanderbilt. You talk about a team that's probably got 2 top 20 picks in the NBA in Wade Baldwin and Damian Jones.
Yep.
You've got a guy in Luke Cornett who's one of the hardest matchups in college basketball, 7 foot tall, knockdown 3-point shooter. It's amazing. They just hadn't seemed to put it together all season. But if Vanderbilt gets rolling, I feel really sorry for any 6 seed or 3 seed that has to play them early on in the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone has said that about Vanderbilt this year. If they can put it together, they keep on saying that after every game. They still have not put it together, so I just don't see them really doing anything. There's a good chance that Wichita State actually makes a run. I could see them doing some damage. But yeah, in those playing games, Vanderbilt, Wichita State, I would not know who to choose there. That'll be a good game.
And I don't either. And given that's the South region, I'm looking at winner would play Arizona, and I'm thinking to myself that either of those teams can actually beat Arizona if they can't play a complete game, because I know that's been Arizona's problem all year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, not that, unfortunately, I guess, for these teams, their tournament runs seem to be made short, but we have Southern from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then they're representing the SWAC, and then we have Holy Cross, who, representing the Patriot League, came in 9th in the Patriot League, went 14-19 over the course of the season, and somehow managed to find themselves in the big dance. I mean, sort of, kind of the reason a lot of these casual basketball fans tune in is these teams like Holy Cross. They come from nowhere, not really going anywhere, but it is always nice to see a team that really has no business being in March just move their way in, pop their head in for a little while.
I think. Do you guys think that that the one loses to a 16 this year? Does it finally happen?
I wouldn't bet on it, really.
By no means will I be betting on it, but this Southern University team played in 2013.
Very athletic team.
They played the number one seeded
Gonzaga.
They played who'd they play?
Gonzaga, wasn't it?
It was either Gonzaga or Syracuse. Yeah, one of those two, and they took them.
Yeah.
I believe it was a 69, 64 game, something like that.
It was a very close game. They gave them all they could handle, that's for sure.
And I'm looking at the Florida Gulf Coast, and obviously they have to win their playing game. But after watching them last year, that high-flying dunking team, if they're one of those teams, if they get confidence, the one seed they play better be, better.
Well, that's a very different team from 2 years ago. I mean, the coach left. None of the players are there anymore. They play a different style of basketball. But that team 2 years ago is probably the greatest Sweet 16 run we maybe have ever had in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, somehow I was sitting with my roommate and he said, this Dunk City team is making it to the Sweet 16, and I laughed at him because of all the points I thought it was going to be picking up on him in our bracket pool, but he was
right.
I actually picked that game as well. I saw them playing their conference championship, and I was like, oh my goodness, who is this team? They hit threes, they dunk on everybody. They're playing Georgetown in the first round. I mean, might as well give them a shot, and sure enough,
it's
incredible.
While there isn't a ton lingering from that run, was it 2 years ago? I think that there's still a little bit of that culture in there, and so I definitely think that could get them by the Fairleigh Dickinson Knights.
The last playing game we've yet to talk about is Michigan and Tulsa, and I think we can all agree that it was a bit of a surprise that they were able to make it into the tournament. That we feel like they were sneak-ins. But regardless, out of those two teams, which one could pose a threat? It's definitely Michigan. They have the size and they do have the talent to put it together. Like a lot of teams. But
I mean, I think that win over Indiana in the Big Ten championship, or I mean, not the Big Ten tournament, really. That's what put Michigan into this tournament. And I think that playing hot, playing well through this past weekend could definitely get them into the field of 64 and maybe make a little noise past that. But to close up our broadcast, I want to ask each one of our three panelists, really not their exact Final Four, but in each region, sort of what they're looking for at the top. So why don't Adam? We'll start with you, and you sort of just run us through what you got: Southeast, West, and Midwest.
South, I just see Kansas running away with that.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I don't think Kansas will have a problem. They could potentially probably end up playing Arizona or Miami in the Elite Eight, but I just see Kansas taking that over and making it the Final Four for the South. For the East, it's an interesting region. Although Xavier is a 2 and there's a 3 in there. West Virginia, I don't think either of those are going to do a ton of damage. I see Kentucky making it out of the East as a 4 seed.
Bold pick, all right.
And then the West, crazy as can be, like I said earlier, there's 6 or 7 teams that could win this, no joke. I'm going to have to go with my Aggie bias, and I'm going to say that A&M's going to make it to the Final Four out of the West.
I think that'll make one of us. So.
All right. And then lastly, in the Midwest, well, we thought it was a boring region, but has potential to be a pretty fun region. Tough. That's what I would describe it. I think that I'm going to go with Purdue. I think Purdue makes it out of there because while that's another bold pick, it's just rare that all ones make it. So I just truly don't think that all ones will make it this year. You'll have, Kansas, but I think after that it'll be a couple, 2, 3, 4 seeds somewhere in there. So that's my guess.
We'll move on to you, Grant. Where do you disagree with Adam there?
Okay, well, I do agree with Kansas. I think the only team that's really going to give them a run for their money is Miami, maybe Villanova. I think Miami's a very athletic team. They're senior weight, and like nobody's business they can shoot a three. But I think Kansas is so balanced. They don't really have any weaknesses. I like Kansas in the South. In the East, I really like North Carolina. They're very efficient offensively. They're very good inside. I don't think that Marcus Page and Joel Berry can shoot well enough to keep them in it for too long. I've got West Virginia beating them in the Elite Eight and going to the Final Four. I just think that they're a very tough team to match up with in March. In the Midwest region, Michigan State's probably my favorite team in the tournament. Denzel Valentine, you look at 19 points a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, just absolutely incredible numbers. Very good offensively, very good defensively. Tom Izzo is probably the best coach in March. I've got Michigan State going to the Final Four. Like Virginia as well, but I've got Michigan State in this one. In the West, good gracious, it's really tough. Oklahoma could potentially lose an early win to Oregon State, but I'm going to say that Buddy Hield carries his team to the Final Four. I think that they're just a very good team shooting the basketball. I'm going to have Oklahoma running the table and going to the Final Four.
What about you, Rob?
All right, so starting out with the South, then I'm of course agreeing with everyone that Kansas is easily going to get there in the Final Four. But I think that Arizona has a chance of coming close to them if they learn to play that complete game, as I said earlier. But it's either way. I still say Kansas is still going to take that one in the South. For the East, it's I was looking at it, pretty tough for me. But I'm gonna have to say it's like Kentucky's gonna get there in the Final Four. Midwest, that's a rough one. Actually, it's like we said, it could be boring, could get interesting. But I'm gonna have to say, based on when I was watching the Big Ten championship earlier today, and I think Michigan State is gonna take that one in the Midwest. For the West, and I think I agree with Adam on this one. I was looking at it. Texas A&M's got a pretty good. They've got a really good chance on winning the West. It's up for grabs from anyone, and I really think in the Elite Eight they'll probably beat out Oregon.
No, yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm going to just really piggyback this whole Kansas love. It's really that they have 5 options. There's not a starter on their team that honestly I don't think teams wouldn't be comfortable giving the ball with under 10 seconds right now. I think that at the top we could see a little bit more trouble. On the top half of the bracket. I think North Carolina and Roy Williams are deep enough to make it out of that, because I think that West Virginia is the second best team in that regional, but I definitely think even down to the first round, Stephen F. Austin is going to give them a hard time. I think that Xavier is good enough to give them a hard time. And then down in the West, I'm sort of preaching to the choir here, but Tom Izzo is the best coach in the country, and I think that, or at least in March, and Denzel Valentine, I think, is far and away the best player in the country, especially in terms of your intangibles, your leadership, your clutch factor. I think that he's going to be able to provide anything that you may need in late game heroics. And then that's sort of what I've been looking at in March is who can you get to go get you a basket, and that's really why out of this West sort of sifting through it that I think I want Buddy Hield. I want Oklahoma. I want Devontae Graham. I want I'm sorry.
Isaiah Cousins?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Devontae. Isaiah Cousins, yeah. I want that 1-2 punch in the backcourt. I want those two guys shooting the ball, getting hot, and not only that, but they have the ability to penetrate. They have the ability to kick to open shooters and dish to the big men. I think that'll be a tough game in the second round against Gary Payton Jr. or the second and Oregon State. But I think if they can get through that, I think they can win a close game against A&M. Maybe see some stuff fall at up near the top, and maybe not even have to play the 1 seed once they get to their the regional final. And so I think, as of right now, preliminarily, certainly could change before Tuesday or Thursday, depending on how I guess stringent we are on getting our brackets in. But I have 2 1s and two seeds right now. But we really appreciate all of y'all that are live right now, hanging on with us, sort of seeing what we have to say, and I think we're all ready to let the madness ensue after what we saw this past weekend.
Yeah, my last thought before we go is while we've talked about how crazy the West is, I think it was the West, and how many teams could come out of that, I mean, Oregon is still under the radar. Not enough people are talking about them, even though they got the 1. They've been quiet and under the radar all year. Maybe this is what they need. They'll continue to be under the radar and get to the Final Four, but I don't know. That team could actually be really good. So,
one last thought, Grant. What you got?
I agree with you on Oregon, man. They're really deep. They're really athletic. They got the swatter boy Chris Boucher averaging like 3.5 blocks a game. I don't know. I just don't know if they don't really have, to my knowledge, as much experience making the Final Four as some of these other teams do. I know they were a 7 seed a couple years ago, and they made, I think, the Elite 8. But other than that, I don't know if they have the experience in March that you need. I really like Maryland in the South Regional. The only problem is, in the second round, they'd be playing Cal in Spokane, Washington. And East teams that travel to the West do not typically play well, especially whenever Cal is going to have a better crowd. I mean, I think Maryland, they got really no weaknesses among the starting 5. Melo Trimble is a point guard we know is very good. Rasheed Suleiman, very quick, good defender, 3-point shooter. Diamond Stone is a beast, and Robert Carter's a very good stretch 4. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to get past Cal. They're the only team I think that could really give Kansas a run for their money in this bracket.
Rob, what you got?
Well, anything as a final closing statement, I think we're going to see a huge representation throughout this tournament from the Pac-12. I said it before earlier today, and I'm going to say it again, that the Pac-12 is easily one of the most deep conferences, and we're going to see that, with Oregon going through, Cal, Arizona, and Utah we're still questionable there, but overall, you're going to see a lot of representation from them. I really think so.
Yeah, Rob's been preaching hard all year to us on to not overlook this Pac-12 conference, especially with how well the Big Ten and the Big 12 have been playing. But we really appreciate y'all staying live for us. We'll probably hop on another broadcast when the first 16 beats the 1 seed, or all 4 16s beat 1 seed. But we don't really know. But we y'all definitely stay posted on the armchairallamericans.com. Y'all stay posted on Twitter at AC All-Americans, and just check out what we have. And stay tuned with us through March and through the madness. All right. Rob, you want to?
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
Thank you, guys.
it.
See you guys.